How can the Minnesota Vikings stop Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens? They've only faced Lamar one time, and it was in Baltimore. It was that famous 2021 game where the Ravens ended up winning that game in overtime. You remember that CJ Ham wheel route? Everybody remembers that. We're going to talk about how the Vikings can beat the Baltimore Ravens and how somehow, some way, due to voodoo magic, they're healthy. Welcome to the Real Forno Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Real Forno Show, hosted by the one and only Tyler Forness. A to Z Sports sought him out to be their Minnesota Vikings reporter and NFL analyst. And he's a proud contributor over at SKOL North's Purple Daily. Tyler is also the captivating host of The Good, The Bad, and The Hungry on the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network, and a founding member of Vikings First and SKOL.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of The Real Forno Show, sponsored by our friends at Underdog Fantasy, where with the promo code FORNO, you can get $100 in free bonus credits with your first $5 play. Great time to bet all the unders with your lineup on Bo Nix. I'm your host, Tyler Forness. With me, as always, is producer Dave in the top left corner. And listen, it's been a fun day. If you are checking this out for the first time because you saw me blow up on Twitter because Bears fans got mad, I welcome you. It's been a fun day, and the Minnesota Vikings are in a very interesting spot. Last night, we had X's and Skulls with Luke Braun. Make sure you go check that out as well. And like, subscribe, ring the bell, and join our Discord. Don't forget, members of the Discord get access to the Rumor Mill channel, which, if you were paying attention on trade deadline day, you heard a lot of really interesting stuff. And it is still up there if you want to go check it out. But you got to be a member and link your YouTube account to your Discord profile, which is very easy. Just ask some of the guys in the chat. Dave, it's a Thursday. It's starting to get cold. How are you?
I'm doing well. We're rolling into another game. This one will be purple on purple crime.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. I think we have to start with the really interesting idea of what this game is. And what I mean by that is there's a history with these two teams because, remember, this is the old the old Cleveland Browns franchise. And they have only been the Baltimore Ravens since 1996. The Vikings have only played them 7 times. They are 3-4. But every time that they have lost to the Baltimore Ravens, a head coach for the Vikings has gotten fired that season. Anytime they've won, they have made the NFC Championship game, which just a bonkers thing to think about. The fact that they make the NFC Championship game every time that they win over the Ravens. Now, I think some of that is just happenstance, the fact that they only play each other at minimum every 4 years. 98 and 2001, they both played each other, but the way schedules were done before they got that 31st and 32nd team were just a little bit different. And it's just such a fascinating thing. It also means nothing. So if you want to be superstitious, we're going to the AFC Championship game with a win. Have fun. Enjoy it. But it's all very circumstantial. And this Ravens team is not going to be an easy one to defeat, especially because over the last few games, they've gotten healthy and they have figured things out. And that is a dangerous thing when it comes to Lamar Jackson. When you kind of look at this game from an overall perspective, Dave, just kind of big picture, what are your thoughts about what we should be looking for here?
Well, they rank pretty low on the defense against the rush and against the pass. But you got to remember that a big chunk of that is because everybody was injured for them for the longest time, and now they're healthy. It's going to be interesting. I think for the Vikings to win, they're going to have to put a spy on Lamar Jackson. Who's that spy going to be? Is it going to be Ivan Pace? Make sure that he doesn't run out of the pocket. Make sure that they have the defense scheduled or schemed to go against them. What happens if the Ravens go heavy to get the king going? Mr. Derrick Henry. But I think, by heavy, I mean at least two tight ends, a fullback, three tight ends, stuff like that, which negates the defensive secondaries, type of matchup. It's going to be interesting to see how this game plays itself out. I don't think it's going to be super high scoring. It's not forecasted to be high scoring. But I think it's all going to come down to how Brian Flores handles the Ravens offense.
Yeah. I think this game is interesting for a lot of the reasons you just said. I want to start with their defense because I think their defense is such an interesting one. They lost Nabi Madubuike. You remember him as Justin Madubuike. He changed his first name as far as how he wants to be addressed a couple of years back. He signed a huge contract with the team a couple of years ago for $24 million a year. He is out with a neck injury and he will not return this season. That was a big loss. It's the Danielle Hunter injury, basically. I don't know the severity of it, but I'm a pro wrestling fan. Whenever you hear neck, it's never a good thing. So you have him with the neck injury, and they honestly just struggled across the board. They were dealing with injuries all over the place. Roquan Smith was dealing with a soft tissue injury. Marlon Humphrey, a cornerback, was dealing with one. It was just bad all around. Well, then they decided to get healthy. Dave, this might be the latest I've ever seen, and it's probably happened a couple other times, but I don't recall one. The Ravens have had nobody on the injury report on Wednesday or Thursday. Not a, hey, this guy's injured and he's a full participant. Nobody. Not a single soul. That's crazy. That is absolutely wild when you think about it. The fact that there are no reportable injuries. Now they still have guys on injured reserve, but your heavy hitters, your Lamar Jacksons are going to be playing. Derrick Henry, Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, Mark Andrews. They're all going to be ready to rock and roll. Where things get really interesting for this team is this defense. And just in the last 4 weeks, and there was a bye included in there for the Ravens, they have turned it around. They are 7th in EPA per play allowed at negative 0.057, which, let's put it this way. It's about what JJ McCarthy's EPA per play is. But their success rate is down to 13th. So you can get successful plays. They're just not going to give up as many of the huge chunks, which is kind of how you can read the data. When there's that big disparity, that's usually what it is. They're getting a lot of these big chunks if they have that good EPA, or they're not getting any of them if it's low compared to the success rate. With this defense, they're going to play a decent amount of man coverage. They're going to do a lot of disguises. They're going to be aggressive. But the one area you can beat them is in the fronts. And defensive coordinator Zach Orr has not been very good at designing fronts, being able to put guys in the proper position. And then you have to have guys like Kyle Hamilton and Roquan Smith be able to bail out with really good tackles on the second level. That is not a way you want to live. You want to be able to put your players in position to succeed and not have other players bail them out. Now, it's great to have players who can bail you out. You don't want to live that way. And that's where the difference lies. And with this Ravens defense, they do that just a little bit too much. They could use some help at corner. So can they match up with these receivers? Marlon Humphrey is still a good corner. He's not the all-pro that he used to be. Nate Wiggins, it runs a 4.3, sub 4.340, and he's tall and long, but he weighs like 180 pounds. He's basically looking at Jordan Addison with a couple of inches. That you can exploit him, especially when you want to move laterally. So how are you going to be able to attack these corners? And one of the ways to do that is by being able to stop the pass rush. They love to blitz. And because they love to blitz, they don't love to blitz like Brian Flores, but they do blitz. Can you get JJ McCarthy enough success to be able to be successful? I think that's a really interesting one, especially when you look at some of the stuff with JJ McCarthy, which if you paid attention to Twitter today, Bears fans do not like me because I posed the question late last night and it blew up today because it feels to me like JJ McCarthy isn't being critiqued and analyzed in the same way as a lot of other quarterbacks. And my big question was, well, are my blinders just on too high? because I'm so in the trenches with evaluating McCarthy and evaluating this team where I'm just not noticing things in a way that other people will, which I think is a very fair and valid question, because sometimes you have to recognize your own biases and ask people, hey, am I crazy for thinking this? And I gave a long spiel about kind of what I mean. And if some of the reporting has just been absolutely bonkers, they didn't want to play Max Brosmer because they thought he could be the next Brock Purdy. Oh, they only have 10 weeks to figure out if McCarthy's good or they're going to move on. Oh, they quiet benched him for Carson Wentz. Like, some of the reporting has just been absurd for how this team has consistently talked about JJ McCarthy. We're not talking about the guy who tore his ACL and then retore his ACL and then broke his leg. Like, we're not talking about a guy who's injury prone. We're talking about a guy who maybe is, and we have to at least have that parked in our brains if he gets hurt again. But there's so much we just don't know about this guy, and they've talked about how much they believe in him and how much they're trying to grow with him and trying to take things to another level. That some of the reporting has just been absolute batshit. And so I asked that question, and one of the things I got was, well, Caleb Williams, who I think has been, people have made excuses for time after time, apparently is the most criticized quarterback, and I just haven't seen it, which, you know what? That's very possible. And I think algorithm can have something to do with that, because I don't see a lot of Caleb Williams hate unless it's from people in my circles. Be like, man, he's just not playing good quarterback. I'm talking nationally. I'm talking like big wigs. I don't feel like that's happening. But again, my exposure is nowhere near what other people's is, which is why I asked the question. One of the reasons why I asked is one of the big things that McCarthy's bad at, Dave, to kind of make this a full circle point, struggles against pressure. He struggles against pressure quite a bit. And he really struggles when he's blitzed. Now, so far this season, or let's just look at last week, because last week, JJ McCarthy, when blitzed, 9 dropbacks, 3 of 7, 25 yards, a PFF grade of 29.7 with a turnover-worthy play. He did not throw the interception when blitzed. That came when he was not blitzed and he was kept clean. He just missed, and that's where some of the mechanical issues have come from. He just struggles mechanically. And you've seen improvements, but I think that's going to change over the course of time. It's going to be a factor. And when I take a look at some of the things that he does from a blitz perspective, when we talked about it in X's and SKOLs yesterday, as Odie looks at me like, Dad, he needs to be better against the blitz. I know, buddy. I know he does. But one of the things is he has to figure out the answers to the blitz. One of the ways to figure out answers to the blitz is you need to do little things. You need to be able to process super fast. You need to be able to know off the back of your hand where everything is and what your answers are. Kevin O'Connell sometimes does not have great answers for you when it comes to the blitz, where you need to create, you need to make some time and give the receivers just a little bit more so they can get open and you can find them down the field. Sometimes that's the answer to the blitz. Other times it's, hey, the guy's right there. You need to find him and throw the football. And he just has not done a very good job of doing so throughout the start of his career. And you know what? That's going to come with time. And that's one of those things that we've talked about a lot. Reps matter. Reps are a huge deal. Just in his 3 starts. Because remember, he only has 87 dropbacks and 66 attempts. We are not talking about a sample size worth measuring at all right now. He is against, when blitz, 9 of 20, 45% completion rate, 123 yards, touchdown, 2 picks. Not great. Not great. But let's look at Lamar Jackson. When he's blitzed, he is incredible. 37 of 47, 78.7% completion percentage, 465, 7 touchdowns, and a pick. Here's the thing with blitzing Lamar Jackson. And a lot of... Daniel, we're going to talk about the trade deadline a little bit, because I think that's a really interesting kind of discussion point. When it comes to Lamar Jackson, everybody's going to point to, oh, remember that Brian Flores game where he just sent 0 blitzes at him all game, and he did it 30 times, and they just destroyed him? This isn't that Lamar Jackson. This isn't 2020 Lamar Jackson. You're not going to be able to do that and have the same kind of success. That's just not how it's going to work. He has evolved. He was a good passer then. Now he's a great passer. And you have to be able to get pressure and keep him corralled so he cannot escape. This is going to be a similar problem the Vikings had with Jalen Hurts. And remember how Hurts cooked them. It's a different type of passing game. It's a different type of quarterback with as far as arm talent. Lamar has way more than Hurts does. And it's a different type of receiving core, which is nowhere near as good as what the Eagles presented. But they present the same issues to where if you allow them to have a path forward, they will take it and they will gash you. And all of a sudden, a pressure becomes a 20-yard rushing gain and a first down and a debilitating feeling for the defense. That is where things get really difficult. And one of the reasons why when he's blitzed, because remember, like PFF grades aren't gospel. And we've talked about kind of some of the reasons why I don't like them. I don't like how the algorithm is built. I don't like how if your performance doesn't end up mattering in the play, it doesn't count as high. Look, if it's like a zone run and you destroy your block, that you shouldn't be penalized for that because it all of a sudden, hey, maybe they just take it the next time they do. Like those things matter. His PFF grade when blitz is 86.6. His passing grade is 84.0. That tells you that he's making really, really good decisions when he's blitzed because he's tall enough. He's 6'2", 215. He can see the field really well, and he feels that pressure, and he makes plays. Now, when you have Jared Goff, you do those cross-dog blitzes all day like we talked about, and all of a sudden, you are keeping him in the pocket, which, it's Jared Goff. He's going to stay in the pocket anyways, and you're just crushing him. You do that same thing against Lamar Jackson, he can outflank you. You don't want Lamar Jackson to outflank you. So how do you attack him? Simple. You have to rush contain. Remember how everybody was attacking Dallas Turner for that Eagles game where he was going up against Lane Johnson and kind of just getting stonewalled? He was rushing to push the pocket forward and not let Jalen Hurts escape around him. That was 100% intentional. It also just happened that Lane Johnson might be the best right tackle to have ever played football. So it looks worse than it was. So you're going to have to do some of the same stuff because when he's not blitzed, that's where things get interesting. And that's where this discussion about Brian Flores comes into play. Is he going to go against his tendencies? Because when he's not blitzed, guess what? 49 of 71 for 608 yards. But his decision-making when he's not blitzed is not that good. When he's under pressure, he's got 64 dropbacks, 25 of 39, 382 yards, 4 touchdowns, and a pick. You're not going to be able to completely stop Lamar Jackson unless you just have a phenomenal game plan and you just torch him. This is a situation where we talked about Jonathan Grenard and how much his lack of sacks has really hurt. But he's doing so many good things. This is the kind of game where you got to wrap up. You have to, when you get into the backfield, you have to make that play. Will he be able to do that? Will Jonathan Allen? Will Dallas Turner? Andrew Van Ginkel? All of these guys, when they have the shot, they got to hit. They cannot miss. Because that is how Lamar Jackson does Lamar Jackson things. And is it going to be where Brian Flores is going to want to blitz him? Or is he going to just want to maybe send some run blitzes where it's just sending a linebacker? I don't really know what his plan is. I don't know what the idea is going to be. But there are some serious reservations for me to just blitz him like crazy. And that, I think, is going to be a really fun watch to see how Brian Flores tries to corral Lamar Jackson. I think it's going to end up being contain rushes. I think he's going to have 2 defensive linemen. He's going to have 2 edge rushers. He's going to have 3 off-ball guys. And he's going to have 4 secondary. I think you're going to see, like you said the other day, Dave, more of an old school 3-4. So let's talk about what KFT 590 said. Pace spying Lamar Jackson. The way a lot of people view spies is how spies are done in Madden. You have that little orange circle around you, and all you do is follow the quarterback. Spying, I liked what Ron Johnson said on the squad show with Locked On earlier today. Spies don't just have one job anymore. They have multiple. If the running back stays in the backfield, you keep an eye on Jackson. If the running back goes out, you have to kind of flow with them a little bit, but kind of have one eye peeking. You have to be able to do more than one thing. Just like there's more than one way to get into cover 4. Nobody runs cover 4. They're running different variations of quarters, man match, palms, where it's like a combo between cover 2 and cover 4, where those boundary corners are kind of mid-pointing and really trying to play both a deep quarter and a shallow flat. Those things all matter in this context and in this conversation. So a spy, I think they're going to do it sometimes. I think they're going to have different responsibilities for those spies to try and confuse Lamar Jackson. It also wouldn't be too big of a surprise, even though I kind of talked about, hey, let's not maybe not blitzing is the end goal here. Maybe doing some of those cross dog blitzes and forcing Lamar Jackson to the outside. Because remember that AJ Brown touchdown early in the game on 4th and 4 against the Eagles, when they did that 3-man rush and that play where Dallas Turner got stood up. The goal of that play was to force him to go left. And Jonathan Grenard shoots inside to try and force him to go left. And then Blake Cashman is there as the spy, almost as a delayed blitzer, to then force him into a quick throw, a potential bad throw, and get out of the play. The offense gets paid too, and they end up converting on that, and it's a touchdown. So will they be doing some of that? I would expect, yeah. Anthony, I did just get out of the shower. Why? The wife got a sauna, and I had to try it out. So I did the sauna, and then I took a shower. And hey, I wanted to look clean for you guys. So here I am. But what do you think, Dave? To kind of wrap up the spy conversation, I think it's different than just kind of the general viewpoint. And I'm not saying the person, KFT 590, was saying it like it's Madden, but I think that's how people just view spies, where they're just not they don't have a singular job. They're doing a lot of different things. No, what is the best approach here?
You're 100% correct. Somebody's keeping an eye on Lamar Jackson no matter what. That's the spy. Now, are they following out a running back that might zip out into, cross in front of their face? Possibly. If the edge doesn't do that, yes. That's very much what Van Ginkel likes to do, and then intercept the pass. It's going to be interesting to see how Brian Flores schemes this one up. Is it going to be identical to what he did last week? I doubt it. 2 different style quarterbacks. Good running game, yes. But it's going to be interesting.
It's going to be very interesting.
I'm the man play says you need to force him into a decision. Jackson, that is. And yes, you do. That's where Jonathan Allen and Javon Hargrave are going to come into play.
And I'm very curious, specifically with Hargrave, what they end up doing with him and what they end up doing with how they have this defensive line, because one of the things they've asked these guys to do is really just try to win one-on-one. That has not worked as well as they would have hoped with the amount of talent that's in that room. So what they did against the Lions is they started slanting and using Javon Hargrave as that quick penetrator. He's a gap shooter. He weighs 315, but he is quick off his feet, and he can penetrate gaps, and he can get in between small spaces and make an impact. And that's what he did. But will they do more of that? Or are they going to want to stay at home with Derrick Henry and not over pursue? And then all of a sudden, if you over pursue, and that backside gap is just going to be wide open for him to take. And then all of a sudden, the big thing with Derrick Henry is stopping him before he gets his momentum going, because he is not a fast guy. He's a momentum guy. What I mean by that is he's not the lightest on his feet. He's not super quick as far as being able to build up speed. What he does is once he gets that speed, you aren't catching him. It's a truck going 110 miles an hour is just as fast as a Corvette going 110 miles an hour. The Corvette gets there a lot quicker than the truck. But once you get to that max speed, guess what? You're not catching him. And that's Derrick Henry. That's the one thing where you need to get him early because he will not let you catch him once he's going full speed. Anthony, thank you for the super chat. Let's so he says to beat Baltimore, we're going to have to sack Lamar early and often and cause Derrick Henry to fumble as much as possible. Yeah, I think both of those are good strategies. Derrick Henry, I think, has 3 or 4 fumbles already this year, which not great. The big thing with Lamar is I don't think sacking is. I'm not going to say it's not unlikely, but he's only been sacked 17 times so far this season, which actually he hasn't played that much. So he's played in 5 games and he's taken 17 sacks. So you're looking at about 3 a game. If you can get 5, that might be where you can kind of make it up in the margins, because an extra 2 sacks, that can ruin 2 drives, completely ruin 2 drives. I'll take that. I will take that all day long if you're the Minnesota Vikings. This offense is going to be really difficult to stop. Lamar does a great job. Todd Monken is a really good play caller for Lamar Jackson. They've done a great job of figuring out how to maximize his ability as a passer. And I think his ability as a passer has really not been talked about enough, because I think he's a great passer. But he was in such a catered offense to his running abilities to where, and they just kept like whiffing on wide receiver picks year after year, to where people just kind of didn't see Lamar as this great passer, which just isn't true. He's always been a really good passer. His college days, he was a great passer. He was doing a lot more pro style stuff than most of the quarterbacks in that time. Because remember, that was right after like the Robert Griffin III, Johnny Manziel boom, where they're doing a lot of the Art Briles stuff, RPOs, and just really quick screens and just go balls. Lamar was running a little bit more of an intricate passing attack. He's always been really good at that. So figuring out how to maximize some of those things for the Ravens against what the Vikings will present you is going to be really interesting. One thing that's look, people have talked about it for months. Asante Samuel Jr. is visiting the Vikings on Friday. I'm not convinced it's a good idea to sign him. Reason being, is he good? Like, he's a decent cover guy. He can play inside and outside, but he can't tackle. We already have enough issues with tackling with some of our corners right now. And guess what? You have to be a good tackler in this defense. So do you really want to add that guy? But at the end of the day, he's probably better than what you got. So it's a really tough call to figure out, are you really going to want to bring this guy in? The big thing is, even though he's gotten cleared by a private doctor, the Vikings still need to be comfortable with the medicals. With a spinal fusion surgery, that's no joke. Will they be comfortable with that? Who knows? Who knows? And this defense is going to have a lot going for them. A lot going against them, because Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, that sounds like a nightmare. Dave, if this was NFL Street and you have Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, you're going to torch everybody. Those dudes will just kill you on the playground. So I think it's going to be really, really interesting to take a look at. Any thoughts on the defense before we move on to the other side of the ball?
No, I can't wait to see the game on Sunday.
I feel you. You know who else can't wait for the game? Our friends at Underdog Fantasy, because they already have some interesting lines for your lineups. And I'm kind of interested in a few of these here. I kind of like JJ McCarthy going higher on his passing yards. One of the reasons why, he has not really been able to get into that groove or rhythm And I think he's finally going to get there because he's getting more and more comfortable. You're seeing him do things like can at the line of scrimmage, which is changing the play. Whenever you see this, can. They have 2 plays called in the huddle. And guess what? He sees something, he's identifying it, and they're getting to the line quicker. Those things procedurally will help a lot with the passing game when we've already seen it. And plus, look, you should probably just take higher on Lamar Jackson's rushing yards. He's just going to get his. I feel it in my bones. And I'll tell you, the easiest way to have fun with Underdog Fantasy is to sign up using that promo code Forno I mentioned at the top. And on your first $5 play, you will get $100 in bonus credits. So you can have fun for the rest of the season. Promo code Forno, Forno. And all you have to do is be in one of the states on the screen in yellow. And if you're not, well, maybe you should move to one of them and come have some fun with us. And remember, it is all about fun. So if you are having too much, call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right.
What is the yardage for young said dog in the road?
Oh, let's take a look-see. I think it was something like 170.
I'd go over. Without a doubt, I'd go over.
He hasn't gone higher than 170 in his NFL career. So that's something to be kind of cognizant of. That's where
he's 143, 143. Yes, we know that. But the Ravens defense can be got from a good passing game. And I think we saw last week, he threw some off target, but he threw a bunch that were just dead on. I think he can beat that.
It is 209.5 higher or lower. That's relatively high. And if you want to do some alternate lines, if you go to 219.5, it's 1.07 times your wager. And same with 229. If you want to go over 239.5, 1.24 times your wager. Not too shabby. There's and you can play with those alt lines and you can have some fun. Lamar Jackson's rushing yards is, I got to scroll up, higher or lower than 37.5. I think 40 to 50 rushing yards makes a lot of sense. They're going to do some design run stuff. Sacks don't count against your rushing yards. So those are 2 that I really like right now. Let's get to this.
Hope asks, how do the Vikings usually play after an emotional win?
That's a good question. I don't like to get into that game, mainly because this team is still relatively new and figuring a lot of things out. You have a brand new quarterback, which means you pretty much have a brand new offense. You have I think it's 6 new starters on the defensive side of the football. Let's not worry so much about that. I understand, historically this team is, really crumbled after some of those emotional wins. But it wasn't really an emotional win. It was just a win. It was an upset, but we're not talking like, hey, this is an emotional win. Like that Buffalo game, that was an emotional win where you were absolutely dead and you ended up getting that fumble recovery in the end zone. Or the Colts game where you come back from 33-0 and you win on a last second field goal in overtime. This was just a win. It just happened to be an upset over a division rival. To me, I don't consider that an emotional win in the same context. And you know what? Maybe you do. And if you do, I get it. But I think they're going to come into this game focused. They're going to come into this game prepared. And it's at home. And they love to play it at US Bank Stadium in front of the home crowd. This will only be JJ McCarthy's 2nd appearance in front of the home crowd in the regular season. And I think that's going to mean something to him. He's never won a game at US Bank Stadium as a starting quarterback. He's going to want this. And there was that bit where it's like 09 came out And you'll have to go find the clip because it's very interesting. The offensive line, the whole dog in the street comment came from like Walter Rouse. They love this guy. He's weird. He's cringy. He's like kind of like Russell Wilson in that way. But who cares? He's having fun. He's focused. He's prepared. And he's ready to play winning football. And I think that's really what matters here. I'm not super concerned about, he's got this alter ego. I mean, everybody has that guy come out of them. They've just kind of named him. Who cares? I don't think it's a big deal. Like, now, if he makes it a big deal, then we can have another conversation. But
well, Justin Jefferson goes by Jettis.
Yeah, that's not a big deal. I just think it's whatever. It's a little cringy, not gonna lie, but who cares? They have fun with it. The big thing for me is, does the team thinks it's stupid and cringy? They don't. So why should I care? Like, the team likes it. They gave him the nickname. So that's good enough for me. And this is going to be a really fun game to watch. I want to see McCarthy. And we talked earlier in the show about, I kind of thought McCarthy was being treated a little bit unfairly because some of the discussion I've seen from a national perspective has just been poor. Some of it has been really good. I like JT O'Sullivan stuff, the QB school. I think he's phenomenal. I think Chase Daniel has done a lot of really good stuff. I like when outside of
that Chase Daniels changed his opinion after watching.
Yeah. And you know what? That's a big thing. Mm-hmm. We think that analysts, I think as a collective whole, we think analysts shouldn't change their opinion. They should believe what they believe. But then you're not doing your job. No matter what you're in, if you're an analyst of some sort or if you're a manager, you have to be able to adapt with new information. And when you have new information, you have to be willing to update your priors. And that is something that I've worked really hard on. And some people still really struggle with. Even I struggle with it sometimes. Bo Nix. But I'm still convinced he's a Sean Payton merchant. I'm sorry. It's a very interesting conversation when it comes to what JJ McCarthy is and viewed like, because it's almost where the discussion I hear is like, oh, his EPA was really bad. He just couldn't see the field. He wasn't very good. Well, what about him not being able to hit any touch passes in training camp, and all of a sudden he's throwing them like crazy against the Lions and throwing them with success? Like, to me, we're talking about a growing quarterback who's having ups and downs. Why aren't we talking about the things that he's improving on? Why are we just talking like, oh, it's bad process, he's taking too many sacks? Well, sure, but let's talk about the why. Why is he taking too many sacks? Why is he having some struggles? Where are those struggles coming from? And how is he better than he was last week? Or is he worse than he was last week? I think those are the things that we should be talking about with McCarthy, and not just using a one game to be like one phrase that I heard was, we should treat this, people think we should treat this guy with kid gloves. I'm like, no, we shouldn't treat him with kid gloves, but we should be treating him as he's a developing young quarterback who only has 3 starts, and looking at every aspect and having an honest conversation instead of just looking at the box score and be like, oh, he barely threw for any yards in the second, third, and fourth quarter. Well, why was that? There were some struggles, but he also had phenomenal field position for multiple reasons. Yeah, kick return from Miles Price, short field.
Jug.
Yeah. And I wrote about him earlier this week, talking about how he could be, he's like having an all-pro caliber season, but penalties are ruining it. And then you have the blocked field goal, 30 yards. Well, and guess what? That final play where that throw to Jalen Naylor, Dave, guess what? That was negative EPA. Like, we need to have context with some of these numbers too, where he's not getting a lot of high EPA opportunities. Jordan Love's an EPA machine. The vibe isn't that he's this elite quarterback. Go talk to Packers fans. Their 2 losses this year are to the Panthers, they're 5-3, but they have had plenty of struggles. and the Cleveland Browns. And Jordan Love has not played well in those games.
And they tied with the Dallas Cowboys.
Mm-hmm. So even with EPA, it's a different conversation because you have to have context with what the numbers are. Just like you have to have context with the film. You have to marry the two. You can't have one without the other. You have to be willing to be like, okay, he's got a bad EPA. Well, why? He's having short fields. He's had some inaccuracy issues. But the one thing that I really like is his process is very good. He is going through progressions. He's making the proper reads. And they're not completing passes for a multitude of reasons. But it's not because he's playing bad quarterback. Some stuff is bad. Some stuff needs significant improvement. But he's making really good decisions and good throws. His one interception, he just put the ball behind the guy. And that is, to me, the big disconnect with some of the JJ McCarthy discussion. Because it's all about, oh, and you know what? Being compared to Sam Darnold, who's having an MVP season, ain't helping anything. But I think we could be doing a better job overall of talking about him. And I'm not a JJ McCarthy glazer. I don't think he's this elite player. I don't think he's, I think he maybe could be, but we have a long way to go before we make any kind of determination about what JJ McCarthy is. And for anybody to tell you that they know what he is, they're just not being honest with you because they don't know. None of us know because it's too small of a sample size. He doesn't even have 70 attempts in the NFL yet. Let's wait till he gets there first. And those details end up mattering a lot when we're having this conversation. I just want more level-headed analysis with more context. That's all. I just want more context when we're having the conversation and more nuance instead of just be like, oh, he's playing bad. Why? What, like, other than just spout off, hey, he's doing this. Or like, he threw 3 interceptions. Okay, well, why did he throw 3 interceptions? Let's talk about the interceptions. Is he making bad reads? Is he making bad throws? Is the defense making great plays, but he's making proper decisions? I think that's the kind of stuff we should be talking about with a young quarterback. Process over results. Quite frankly, I'm pretty bullish on the process. I think his play deserves so far about a C, considering context of the surroundings with him. The play calling was a little poor his first couple of games, not giving him enough easy buttons, the missing offensive lineman, and just his own issues with inaccuracies and getting himself in a poor place mechanically. But I do believe when you look at a lot of the process stuff on how he reads the field, how he's pretty comfortable in the pocket, I think you can feel really good. And you know what? Clutch situations, he's good. He's very good.
Yeah, he doesn't panic.
No. To me, that's the big thing. You see things where I can fix mechanics. I can't fix wanting it. I can't fix mentality. I can't fix this guy just knows how to perform in a big spot. I can fix the other stuff.
I like comping him to Josh Allen. When Josh Allen came out, he couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. It took him 30 games. 30 games played. And right now, everybody would take Josh Allen in a heartbeat as a quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
He's one of the elite quarterbacks. Top 5. Easy in the NFL. But it took him a while. I see a lot of the same, if not more better. Hey, there's a grammatic excellence. In JJ McCarthy. But as you know, Tyler's talking about Tyler being fair, honest, and he has been. He and I have argued over where we view JJ McCarthy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think JJ McCarthy will develop over time, but I think he's going to develop faster than most people think. We're going to find out. We'll start this week. Can he go against the Ravens and build up on what he did last week? He threw 2 touchdowns and ran for one. Can he throw 3? Can he throw more than 200 yards? All that stuff is going to come into play. And as he gets more comfortable and as over time the mechanics get fixed, I think we're going to have, a awesome quarterback, franchise quarterback.
Yeah. Dave, I think so too. I think there's a really good chance that he could be the guy. But we need to look at it from a long-term lens and not a short-term one. And the short-term one, look, it's going to be a roller coaster. We're going to have some really good plays, and we're going to have some ones that make us want to rip our hair out. And you know what? It's okay.
But we're going to start off Sunday by beating the Ravens and then going to the NFC Championship.
I hope so.
That's really what history tells us.
Because I'm going to tell you, I would absolutely love to go to the Super Bowl and watch this Minnesota Vikings team in the Super Bowl. That would be tremendous. We'll see if that ends up happening.
And if it ends up, it's all coincidence, folks. Mm-hmm. That's not, but it's a weird one. And if it continues, it's definitely Odin inspired.
Yes. Couple things that I want to look at from a Vikings offensive perspective. As you can see my eyes, the one thing that I don't have this office set up for is having a monitor right behind my camera. They're off to this side, or way over here. I don't have just a straight on one. So when I don't get to look in the camera and look at the screen at the same time, I think one area where the Vikings can end up making an impact is I gotta find it. The run game has been a little tough. The Ravens over the past 4 weeks are third in rush EPA per play, but you can get some successful runs, 14th in success rate. I want to see JJ McCarthy really take advantage of his legs and use play action. I want to see him throw the ball better on the run. I want to see them try to get some flow with these linebackers and get them moving and then take advantage of them. That to me is what I really want to see. I don't want just kind of static offense. I want to use some creativity. I think Kevin O'Connell's play calling at the end of the Lions game was really good, but I thought he went to the well one too many times trying to take advantage of the Lions over pursuing. And I think he just got a little too caught up. Now, I think he's going to learn his lesson there, and I think he's going to have a really good game plan against these Ravens, who, I'm going to be real with you, the Ravens themselves, they're a good football team, but they can be beaten.
Mm-hmm.
They can be beaten. The one way to beat them is you just bully the defensive line. Get push. And you know what? They did it against the Lions. I think he can do it against this Ravens team. That offensive line is going to be huge in the Vikings of being able to get this win. And JJ McCarthy, going to need that help.
Let's go. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I know it's 4-3. I don't remember which direction.
The Ravens have won 4 games.
All right. So
Dennis Green, Mike Tice, Leslie Frazier, and Mike Zimmer all got fired after losing games to the Ravens.
Did Mike Zimmer make the
yes
NFC Championship?
I remember that because I was
and Denny Green for that matter.
So that Ravens game, I'm not going to say it holds a special place in my heart, but I remember it. It was I matched with my wife on Tinder of all places, and I the night before when I was drunk at a Halloween party, and the next day it was the Ravens game. Oh, I was not having a good time. I'll tell you that. But it all ended up well, and now I'm here. So I remember watching that game because it was like 29-19. I think was the final score. It was a brutal football game. A lot of field goals. But I think
But
this
you
Vikings.
ended up getting married from it.
Hey, I did. It's an indirect correlation. So, yeah, I'm really excited about what this can be. I think this Vikings team can win the game. Will they? Who knows? This Ravens team, I mean, they're not exactly great right now. I can't remember what their record is. I want to say their record is 4 and. Are they 3-5?
I think they're 3-5. That's why they've got to win.
Yeah, they're 3-5. The one nice thing that they have though is they still play the Steelers twice.
Mm-hmm.
And the Steelers are, they're a weird team. But yeah, because the Ravens last game was against the Dolphins last Thursday. And of course, I mean, it's the Dolphins. The Dolphins stink. But yeah, I'm very excited about this game. I think you guys should be excited about this game. And the big thing was, what will JJ McCarthy look like? How will he continue to grow and develop? What that looks like is going to be really fun to keep an eye on, because I don't think there is one specific thing that we want to watch for. I just think we want to continue to see him grow, get better, and do the right things procedurally, which he has been, to be fair.
We want him to get the first win at US Bank Stadium.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we do. And I think this is going to be a really good chance for him to do so. And watch McCarthy just doing the right process things. It's okay if there are bad things. He will figure it out. And then there will be good things coming from it too. So live with the roller coaster. And remember, it's all a part of the growth process.
And let's SKOL nails it. This game will tell us if we got the same old Vikings or the tide is turning.
Yeah.
I believe you're right. Let's go.
We'll find out.
Even if we lose, if we do it well and it's close, showing progress, I
Play
think
good football.
The tide is turning.
Play good football. That's going to be our show. Thank you guys very much for joining us here on this Thursday night. Go watch Bo Nix play bad football against the Las Vegas Raiders. And don't forget, we will have 2 old bloggers, 10:05 a.m. Central Time, leading up to college football on Saturday. And then on Sunday, live at the 2-minute warning, is the start of our post-game show. And then we will have that coming for you for around an hour. And then the Real Forno Show will be back on Monday. And we're going to have a lot of fun. Next week, I think the Vikings play the Packers or the Bears next week. I don't know.
Bears.
The Bears. The Bears. The Bulls.
At home. Yes.
Good. First home game for the Minnesota Vikings in the division. So we will be back. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening. Make sure you like, subscribe, ring the bell, turn on those notifications. And Dave's got one more thing.
Yeah, I just want to pump a friend of the show, Rap, on Vocal Vike. Tomorrow night, he has quarterbacks coach Greg Holcomb on. Greg Holcomb is quarterback coach offseason for JJ McCarthy since he was 13. Should be a good interview. I would suggest, since he is a friend of the show, I should go over there and enjoy the interview while I prep for 2 old bloggers on Saturday. I will be.
Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Tyler. He's Dave. SKOL Vikings, everybody.
SKOL Vikings. Like, subscribe, and ring the bell to get notifications. It helps us grow this community that we all love, our Minnesota Vikings. And on behalf of Tyler Forness and myself, Dave Stefano, thank you so dearly for watching The Real Forno Show. SKOL, everyone.